everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Friday night show. It's our Manchester United versus Brighton preview as well. We'll get into that, but it's also Friday night, so, you know, Friday night show's got a different vibe. The doors are open, and they're open to you. We'll also be talking about this myth that 15 players or even 8 players have been put up for sale. It's a total and utter nonsense. It's from a very good source, and I said it on Twitter this afternoon anyway, but we'll talk about that. And also an interesting update about the sale that some people may have forgotten. I'm absolutely convinced about the sale and who is involved in the sale and who is involved if Qatar get Manchester United, and it's closer to home than Qatar, so we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Mark, if you had to choose one, who would be the big change come from Erik ten Hag, new ownership or new players? Christopher, I think new ownership dictates everything, if I'm being absolutely honest. But look, let's get into the preview against Brighton. What a side they are. They've actually, since losing to Fulham at the end of February, they've not lost the game, really. Now, people will say they lost to Spurs. If you watch that game, they didn't lose to Spurs. They lost to VAR. They lost to officiating. So they're on an incredible run. You look at their starting lineup and you go, well, you know, player for player, we've got better players, but they're coached so well. They know the system. They're a dangerous side. It's the biggest game probably in Brighton's recent history, a Wembley game in the FA Cup. They're well refreshed. They've had a week off. This is a dangerous game, and I would go as far as to say there's only one person who can rescue us, and that's Bruno Fernandes. That Ramsdale error, all keepers make mistakes, says Mario. Yeah, Arsenal are losing 1-0. Not really interested in that, otherwise would have done a watch along. Mark, let's get into the show. But before we get into the show, let me just say, link is in the video description, and I will get it up on the screen for you as well in a moment. But link is in the video description for our predictor game, which is TUS Predictor. A lot of you might have played it for the Sevilla game, and a lot of you probably got a lot of it wrong. But last night's game was between Sevilla and Manchester United. However, 2 of you did win. We've got Noxie and Waddle found our silver lining from that. Congratulations to you both for predicting an impressive 9 out of 10 correct answers for that game. Considering we lost, you really did really well to get 9 out of 10, winning £1,535 each. That's one way to soften the blow. So that's 2 TUS viewers who played the TUS Predictor winning £1,535 each. Absolutely fantastic. What a weekend treat that is. If you took part in that Sevilla versus United prediction game, you now have £5 credit to play the paid version of the United Stand Predictor game for the upcoming Brighton versus Manchester United match. For those who prefer playing just for fun, our free version of the game is available to you as well. This week you could share with £100 in the free trial league, or you try your luck at winning a share of the £2,500 prize pot in the paid version. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me give a quick recap. We've launched the TUS Predictor. It's an opportunity to win real cash by predicting match day outcomes. It's easy, quick, and you can change your selections right until kick-off. So if you're thinking about the match prediction game, links in the description. You've got to be over 18 or older to play. So let's dive into the show. But look, let me just show you. I play this. I love this, right? So Brighton versus Manchester United. I played the Sevilla game, so I've got my £5 to play anyway in my thing. So basically, this is how you do it. Full-time result, win, draw or win for Manchester United. Both teams to score, yes or no. Over 2.5 goals, yes or no. First half result, win, draw or win for Manchester United. Man United to have over 5.5 corners. Brighton to have over 4.5 corners. Man United to have over 1.5 cards. Man United to have 5 shots on target. Man United to score in both halves. Bruno Fernandes to score or assist at any time. So there's 10 questions. You answer yes or no on any of those, and that's how you enter the predictor. Links in the chat. Wow, I'm just stunned at you got 9 out of 10. Noxie and Waddle, and you both won 1,500 each. Well done. If you want to play the TUS Predictor, links in the video description. Get involved. 10 questions, yes or no. See how you do playing against each other. You'll see me in the Predictor League. Adam's in there. Charlie's in there as well. So you can see how you did against us if you're competitive. Right. Let's get into... I can't believe they got 9 out of 10 and we lost 3-0. What? They must just be anti. Or geniuses. But look, let's get into this game. Lot to get into the show tonight. Brighton against Manchester United. I'm going to move straight to this screen. This is how I would line up for this game. Now, look, straight away, if Anthony Martial's not fit, I can't pick Anthony Martial. I'd shift Marcus Rashford up front, and I would play Jadon Sancho off the left. And I know people are going to go mad, but I don't want Weghorst up front with Rashford on the left. I think it's just a waste of time. Brighton will press the shit out of us if we play Weghorst at number 9. They'll just move up the pitch. We've got to try and push them back. We really struggled with our high press last night. We cannot invite that press. We've got to push that Brighton defensive liners back as far as we can. Brighton are so comfortable at playing out from the back. They're so comfortable at playing between the lines. We've got to make them start from their goalkeeper. We can't have them starting from their halfway line with Weghorst. So, look, we've got to play Rashford up front if Martial's not fit, and I'd play Sancho. But look, De Gea's in goal. I get it. I know the criticism. We'll talk about it in a bit about who's up for sale and that, because it's a nonsense, some of the stuff that's been put out today. It's complete and utter spin. But De Gea's got to go in goal. ISO's gifted a membership. Oh, ISO's gifted 5. Legend of the chat. Thanks for that, mate. But there's absolutely no way you can pick. You can play Weghorst up front in this game. Absolutely no way. So I'll go De Gea in goal because Butland is nowhere. Butland's never. On De Gea's retirement day and Butland's best day, he will never be as good as De Gea. So why people are talking about Butland, I'll never know. It's completely and utterly ridiculous. I'd put Dalot at right back, Lindelof, Shaw and Malacia. Got nothing against Wan-Bissaka. I just got nothing against Dalot playing at left back. I just think that balances. I think Lindelof and Dalot work well together. And I think Luke Shaw and Malacia, they've done it before. I'd go with that back four. Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, because I don't think we've lost a game with those three. I think that's an incredible stat, but I think when those three have played together, we still haven't lost a game, and I think it's our best three. I think it's a little bit unfortunate on Sabitzer, but Sabitzer's on the bench. That doesn't matter. Anthony off the right, Rashford off the left, Martial down the middle. If Martial's not fit, then you obviously do what I said. You put Rashford down the middle and you put Sancho on the left. The key to this game is Bruno Fernandes. I mean, we've seen what can happen. I personally think Luke Shaw and Lindelof at centre-back will make us play completely different, by the way. I think we'll play completely different. We'll have more mobility. We'll have more balance. You know, you've got a left footer at left centre-back. I think it will change us. I think Bruno in the midfield will change us. And I think Rashford starting will change us. And I think Bruno Fernandes is the key to winning this game for Manchester United. The mentality, the leadership, but also the ability. He's been playing really, really well lately. I think we absolutely have to do that. Interesting, Dylan says, is Fred finished at Manchester United? I think he probably is. I don't know why, but I think he probably is. You can't see that, but you can't see why that is. But yes, I would play, I would go with that midfield, and Fred just doesn't seem to be involved anymore, does he? Do I think we can win this game? I think it really depends on... Look, I think I think this game, even if you've got Varane, Martinez, and everybody's fit, and we're playing really well, the respect I put on Brighton is, even with our best team, this is a difficult game for us. I would flip a coin on this. I don't think there's a favourite. I just think Brighton will give anybody a game at the moment. So I don't necessarily think that it's a massive issue for Manchester United with regards to how we're going to set up with injuries. I think it's a problem for Manchester United regardless of how we set up, because Brighton are a really good side. And I think we're going to have the same problem against Aston Villa in a week's time. They're good teams, really, really well drilled, really, really well coached. We know what Brighton are going to do. They're 100 miles an hour. They're very comfortable on the ball. They play good, what I call system football, in the sense that they're confident. They've always been confident. I mean, I remember under Potter with Basuma, he receives the ball with his back to goal, happy to receive it, happy to play under the press, happy to play under pressure. You look at that ball that De Gea played to Harry Maguire last night, whether it's a good ball or a bad ball, you give it to Martinez, no problem. I don't care if I've got 3 people within 2 metres of me, I'll deal with it. And Brighton are the same. They're used to having the ball in difficult situations. They don't panic, they pass, they move. It's going to be a good footballing game on Sunday, and it's basically what role we want to have in it. I personally think we're going to win 2-0. Sorry to Arsenal. I think they're going to win 2-0. I think Man United are going to win 2-0. But that's just a pure prediction on positivity, because let's not forget, we've got to win this game. We have to win this game of football. We talk about trebles. We talk about, stopping Man City. We talk about our season. We don't have to play another 3 games now. The whole playing every 3.5 days stops. We're out the Europa League now. There are times in May where we've got a week off in between games. if we win against Brighton, the FA Cup final is at the end. I think it's in June. So we don't need to worry about fixture congestion. This is an opportunity to play a really, really interesting season finale against Manchester City, who will also have a Champions League final coming up as well, I think. So it's a huge game for us, and we've just got to go out there and produce the goods. And I think we will. I think Bruno Fernandes really makes a massive, massive difference to Manchester United. Zane says Arteta out. Yeah, Arsenal are losing 2-0. I purposely didn't watch that game as a watch-along because I didn't want to have anything to do with it, and I'm pretty glad I'm not. I wanted Arsenal to win, if I'm being completely honest, because I wanted them to cause them a problem. Arsenal bottling it, says Taylor. Yeah, I'm not here to talk about fucking Arsenal anyway. Screw that. You know what? We're Manchester United. Why are people talking to me about Arsenal? Couldn't give a shit. If I wanted to watch Arsenal, I would have watched it. We're talking about Manchester United. So I'm going to go 2-0 to Manchester United in this, but I think it's such a difficult game, and I think Brighton will be a really strong adversary. Fantastic football, fantastic coach, fantastic players. So many players to be concerned about as well. None more so than Matoma. I think obviously Casido's fantastic in that midfield. Alexi McAllister, even people like Danny Welbeck and Dunk and stuff like that. You know, they might not be glamorous names, but God, do they know how to play a system. But I'm going to go 2-0 to Manchester United. Rob, thanks for your super chat. Hi, Mark. Hope you're keeping well. Just want to thank you for the great content you provide. It makes more of an impact than you think. To some, keep it up, says Bobby. Thank you very much for your super chat, Bobby. I want to talk about... I actually just want to say as well... in relation to the sale of Manchester United, I said this to you back in November. It's gone completely and utterly forgotten. But I also think Brighton having a week off is massive. It's been completely and utterly forgotten. But remember around January time, we were talking about the Qatar and Sir Jim Radcliffe bids. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I need to mention this in a show. And I thought, well, Friday night's perfect. I'm absolutely convinced... And I'm absolutely convinced I'll get proved right on this. I'm absolutely convinced that the Qatar bid has some sort of ex-player involved. I'm absolutely convinced about it. Yeah, I'm totally and utterly convinced about it. And it's sort of been forgotten. And there was a rumour that it might be Beckham. And I don't think that was ever substantiated. Joshua says Bella Kotchup is a hell of a prospect. I love him at Man United. Adam, welcome to the Members Club. But I'm absolutely convinced that there is an ex-player involved in the Qatar bid. I don't know who it is. I've got no idea who it is, but I'm absolutely convinced. And that's all I'm going to say. That is all I'm going to say, because I just think it's exactly the sort of thing that would make sense for that bid to instantly get fans on side. Now, look, I'll say what I said at the time. I don't need an ex-player involved in Manchester United. I don't know an ex-player that's spoken consistent sense about Manchester United ever. In fact, most of our ex-players were begging us to keep Solskjaer, which says a lot. I think they're too... I think they've got... I think their glasses are so red-tinted glasses they can't see at times, but... I'm just saying it. I've said it for many months, and I said it back around in January. I'm convinced that the Qatari bid has an ex-player involved in it, and we'll have to wait and see. Could Maguire get the England job when he retires, says Chris. Thank you very much. Adam, welcome to the Members Club. Also wanted to talk to you, before we start getting into your questions, it is the Friday night show. Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to say that and I know this for a fact, you can believe me or not, I know this for a fact. This morning, there was a lot of talk from a lot of journalists about this player's now for sale, De Gea, that Maguire's for sale, that 15 players are for sale, that we're going to buy 10 and sell 15, that we're going to buy 5 and sell 6. It's complete and utter nonsense. And this is from really close to the club, and it's from more than one person. It's absolute nonsense. This is just the media needing to do what they've done for years. And you know it. You do not have to believe me, but you know it as well as I know. This sort of thing has been said every year after every result at this time of year for the last 10 years. And I can't believe that people think it's true. It happens with the same outlets every April when we get knocked out, or we're not in a league race, or we get knocked out of trophies. Every April, May, it happens every year with the same outlets, with the same journalists, and I don't know where they're getting it from, but they all do the same thing. The day after United get knocked out, or United are out of a top 4 race, and they say, the fight back's on for Arsenal, says Zane, it's 2-1. Thanks, Zane, for the updates. And Isa's just gifted another 5 memberships. What a legend you are. It happens every single year, and I can't believe our fan base fall for it. I woke up this morning, and I looked at it pragmatically, and I wasn't happy. And I'm like, I know what needs to happen. We all know what needs to happen. But every story I read from every outlet this morning about this player's for sale, this player's for sale, and, we're gonna sell this many, and we're going to sell that many. It's not true. It's just not true at all. And people need to acknowledge it, because people are running away with it. David De Gea is not up for sale. He's got a contract to sign. That contract will get signed. Whether you agree with it, whether I agree with it, whether people don't like it, that contract's there to be signed. They've not pulled the contract out. There's people today putting stories out saying Ten Hag wants a new goalkeeper, he doesn't want De Gea anymore. Well, the contract's still there, so what's that all about? Harry Maguire's definitely up for sale. There's not even been a conversation with Ten Hag and Harry Maguire. There's no conversation going on at all. Dean Henderson's leaving Man United in the summer. Conversation's not even happened. Nothing's been said. I wouldn't be surprised if Dean Henderson and David De Gea were the 2 goalkeepers in September, and we go through the same shit we've been through for the last 2 years. Scott McTominay's for sale. Scott McTominay's very well liked by Ten Hag and the coaches within the team. Not for sale. So, look, I don't agree with some of them things I've just said. Some of those players I've just mentioned, I probably would sell. But that's the story coming out, and that's the relationships that go on. Fred, I would probably give him a new contract. Not been given a new contract, not getting any game time, probably going to leave in the summer at the moment. And probably that's why he's being phased out. Weghorst, Ten Hag likes him, not going to get a contract in the summer. Sabitzer might well get a contract in the summer. Phil Jones and Twansebi are out of contract, so they're irrelevant. Brandon Williams is obviously going to get sold because he can't get anywhere near the team. But these sensationalist headlines that 10 or 11 people are going to get sold is nonsense. Anthony Martial, up for sale. What? Because he came off injured last night. For the last 2 weeks, Ten Hag's been talking about how important he is. So Ten Hag saw him hobbled off last night, got in contact with a news outlet and said he's for sale now. Nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And unfortunately, we fall for it every single year. Well, I'm not falling for it. And I spoke to 2 people today and they said it's not true anyway. This is a nonsense. This is opinion pieces. This is people who have just put an opinion out there. And suddenly, United need to sell, I think Man United need to sell 10 players, turns into Ten Hag's transfer listed 10 players, and he hasn't. Ten Hag can't sell anybody. The truth is, Athletic article, De Gea horror show, nothing on Maguire, says Rahul. Probably got shares in it. I don't care how many we sell. I want to see how many underperforming high-wage players we sell and effectively replace them. Also, to buy, we need new owners, but why aren't already having conversations for a sale, says Akash. Well, look, this is the important thing. Even if I'm Erik Ten Hag, which I can confirm I'm not, even if I, last night, get in contact with Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh and say, I want to sell Maguire, I want to sell De Gea, I want to sell McTominay, I want to sell Fred, I want to sell Martial, I want to sell Sancho, and, even if I give them 10 players and say, you've got to get rid of these players, and I want these 5 players, the answer's going to be, Eric, we hear you, but every manager said this to us for the last 10 years. And can I just warn you, we don't end up selling anybody and it takes us all summer to buy your 3rd choice player. Just warning you, that's what's going to happen. Because that's what's going to happen. And I can't believe that we regurgitate the same nonsense every year about all these players that are going to get sold and all these players that are going to get bought. And yet we've witnessed so many summers where it doesn't happen. Erik Ten Hag cannot buy players because he cannot sell players. And that's the way Man United is. And your only rescue package here is something new. And that's a sale. And we don't even know if that's going to happen. So if I'm being completely blunt, and I'm more than willing to listen to what people want to say because I've spoken to a couple of people today, and I trust them completely, and they've been very good in the past in relation to news around things. Unless you think that something's drastically going to change at this club, we are not going to see anything like what as people were waking up to this morning. And I was just laughing. I went out for lunch and I had a steak and I had a nice pint of Guinness, and I was just sat there going, reading my phone. I wasn't on my own, but I think they'd gone to the toilet at that point, so I was just checking my phone. And I was like, took it into my steak going, people on the next table were like, what are you laughing at? I said, you won't believe it. All the media again leaking the same old stories, and they were like, yeah, I know what you mean. It's ridiculous. Too much sentimentality in the club. We need to be ruthless or we won't win the big trophy, says PJ. When players can't perform, we should move them on. But the problem is, PJ, you're talking too much sense. Send my regards to Duncan. But you're talking too much sense. Put yourself into Ten Hag's shoes, right? If I said to the club, right, I want you to sell Harry Maguire for 40 million and I want you to buy Kim Min-jae for 40 million because that's his release clause in June. Very logical, yeah? Very logical. Such an easy thing to do. We need to be a club that loan players like Sabitzer, not Alanga, says Akash. Such an easy thing to do, isn't it? Sell Maguire for 40 million and use the 40 million to sign Kim Min-jae. Logical. The sort of thing Chelsea have been doing for years, right? I won't get Kim Min-jae because they won't be able to sell Maguire. So, even though I'm the manager wanting what you want, it can't be delivered. And this is what I mean. This is why when I read all this stuff about United are going to sell all these players and buy these players and they're going to be ruthless and they're going to be aggressive, I go, it's a fantasy. We don't have the setup to do it because we've tried to do it last summer, the summer before, the summer before, the summer before that, the summer before that, and the summer before that. We've been trying to do this for years and we can't do it. Eric, Ralph Rangnick got sacked for saying what needed to be done. Ralph Rangnick sat there in press conferences and said, we need open heart surgery. We need to sell 10 players and bring 10 players in. It was gone within 2 weeks. They don't want that sort of talk. The brief under the Glazers has always been, get on with what you've got and we'll give you a little bit. So when Ten Hag was getting excited in January about investment and new ownership, that's why. Because he wants to do all the things you want to do. I feel like I'm playing the piano. He wants to do all the things you want to do. But he cannot do it under this regime. And Arnold knows he can't do it. And Murta knows he can't do it. And Ten Hag will know he can't do it. So all this, there is a value to these players as well. Like, I know I'm using Harry Maguire as an example, but use whoever you want. But you can't just say to Harry Maguire, piss off. He's got 3 years left on his contract on 200 grand a week. That's 800 grand a month. That's over £8 million a year. To kick him out the door, you'd have to give him £24 million. No club's going to do that. So you've got to find someone to buy him. And you've got to find someone to give him 200k a week. And you 40 million. Understand the problem. People are there, let's get rid of Maguire and let's do this. But they don't, it's like, they're not even playing Football Manager or FIFA. They're playing some weird shit I don't even know about. Let's get rid of Maguire and let's buy this player. Let's get rid of De Gea and let's get this goalkeeper. And I'm like, where's the money coming from when we know we need a striker and a midfielder? Like, I saw someone today, let's just go and get Costa from Portugal for 60 million. Oh, yeah. Get me a Starbucks while you're getting him. What are you talking about? Where's this 60 million quid coming from? Well, we can do this, we can do that. I take you back to 2 minutes ago. How are we going to do that? If we had new owners and competent director of football who knows what they're doing, maybe, just maybe. But not at the end of April. Fans do tend to forget about the business aspect of the sport. Of course they do, vacation. These players are assets that you can't just wipe off the books. You can't. You can't. And I think this is why it annoys me a little bit when I wake up this morning and I see all these journalists and all these articles clambering to be the first one to say clear out's going to happen at Man United. But I've seen it happen every game for the last 10 years when we've been knocked out of trophies or we've lost a big game. It's always the same. Massive clear out this summer. But you know what? It's like the boy who cried wolf. You know, this has been cried 20 times now and you just go, I don't believe it. And then also you've got people telling you it's not true. So look, it's a complete and utter nonsense. If you want to have a proper conversation about what's going on at Manchester United, then we can do it. Rory says, I'm worried about the ref after the 3 apologies. Any 50-50 will go to Brighton. No, Rory, it didn't last week. Pulisic, handball, they didn't give it. So, having said that, you've just got me worried now. Mark, if some chance the club sale goes through in time for the transfer window, where do you see us finishing next year? Says aliens are real. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think I predicted this season badly. I didn't think we'd get top 4, and I didn't think we'd win a trophy. I think with this manager, anything is possible. But I think if you want to have a serious conversation about the summer, and you're not still too emotional about last night, any player you tell me we're selling, I say it's not going to be difficult. I'll say it's going to be difficult. As I said on the press conference, when you look at David De Gea, you can't. People were ratting me on Twitter saying, well, you're wrong what you said on that video. We can just let him go. Like Ryan says, Sancho's dog poo, right? How do you get rid of Jadon Sancho? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. But I'm reading stuff in actual credible newspapers with credible journalists. I'm reading stuff today and they're going, Maguire, Sancho, Martial, all for sale. And I'm going, hold on a minute. They're listing more, but De Gea as well. And I'm going, well, De Gea's not for sale because you basically can't renew his contract, so you're going to let him go for free. De Gea's not for sale. You either give him a new contract, in which case he's not for sale, or you don't let his contract. You let his contract run down, in which case you're letting a player that you've spent around £1 million a month for the last 2 years go for nothing. And people go, well, it's better not to have it on the books. That's not how it works. If you've got a Ferrari on your drive and you can't use it anymore, you don't just go, well, it's a bit too expensive for me and I'm bored of it. Someone take it for nothing. You can't have that mentality in business. You can as a fan, because you're naive and silly, but you cannot just go, well, I don't want De Gea anymore, so let him go for free. We've invested a lot of money in him, and he has a value. And I'm not a glazer, but financial fair play exists. We have to get monetary value back for what we've invested. So you can't just let De Gea go for free. Harry Maguire I've just spoken about. You've got to get 40 million and someone's got to be willing to pay him 200 grand a week. Very difficult. Anthony Martial's for sale. All right, okay. He's had 1 million injuries this year and he's on 200 grand a week. Where are you going to get your money for him from? Jadon Sancho's for sale. He's meant to be on 300 grand a week and we paid 75 million pounds for him 2 years ago. He ain't for sale. Maybe Ten Hag would like him to be for sale, but how do you offload Jadon Sancho? 75 million pounds 2 years ago. And we're giving him 300 grand a week. Nobody's going anywhere near that. So this is what I mean. It's irresponsible reporting, and it completely and utterly manipulates our fan base who aren't switched on, because they start going, yeah, get rid of Sancho, get rid of Maguire, get rid of De Gea, get rid of Martial, about £100 million there, get Osman, get Costa, and you're like, oh my God, this is like playground conversation. Nobody's actually thinking about who runs our football club and who's going to be stupid enough to do those deals. So, look, I go into every summer transfer window feeling really excited, and this won't be any different. But I'm also going to go into it very realistic. Unless we've got a new owner that is willing to write those off, and I would love that. I think it's so important. If a new owner comes in and they're clearing the debt, part of that clearance of the debt has got to be to say, look, we'll take on getting rid of that player for next to nothing. That's the saviour. You need a new owner to come in and go, look, Eric, you've said you want rid of this player. We're never going to get the money back. But you know what? We'll take the hit. We'll get them out. We'll get them out and start again. And that's what you need. I think that Butland is a safer bet for the rest of the season, says Pogba. I think you are an idiot, but thank you very much for your super chat. The best signing we can... Look, obviously it's a Friday night. Some people say that's very offensive, but it's a Friday night show, and I'm sure Pogba knows it's all a bit of a joke. But if you think that Butland is better than David De Gea, Butland is not better than Heaton, in my opinion. So I don't know what you're talking about. from an outfield point of view, it's like saying Weghorst is better than Rashford. It's just not true. Welcome to the Members Club, Ty. Appreciate that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Come on, Mark. We need to win the FA Cup. Sunday's massive, says Ahmad. It is. I can't wait for it. But obviously, I think after Thursday night, we're a little bit apprehensive about it, of course. And also, you know, there's not many clubs I have more respect for than Brighton. There's not many clubs. I mean, do we not all love Brighton anyway? You know, you play Man City, you know they're a fantastic football side, but you can't stand them. It's with Brighton, they're a fantastic side and they're a very likeable side as well. It's going to be tough. Brandon says people who say just sell the players don't acknowledge that we pay world-class wages for players that struggle to be constantly average. Who'd buy them with those wages? This is the club's fault. Look, Brandon, this is a legacy problem. This is something that we need to sort out really, really quickly, because when you actually look at it, you're absolutely spot on. We pay people money. I'm not joking here. It's so hard for us to sell players because we pay people probably 50% more than they're worth. So if Maguire's on 200 grand a week, he should be on 100. If Sancho's on 300 grand a week, he should be on 150. Anthony's on 200, he should be coming in on 100. You know, Anthony was on about 20 grand a year at Ajax and we gave him 200 apparently. So we double people's wages. And the problem with that is, I mean, the problem with it is you're paying too much money. But the real problem with it is if they flop or you need to sell them, they become unsellable. We had it with Rojo. We've had it with Bailly. We had it with Jones. We had it with Tellez. We've had it with loads of players. We had it with Lingard to a certain extent, and he ended up going for free. We pay people like Victor Lindelof and Marcus Rojo. We pay them what Everton are paying their star striker. You know, so Everton would probably want Marcus Rojo. They would probably want Victor Lindelof. But they can't buy them because they can't pay them what they're paying their star striker. We pay ridiculous wages. Should mental fitness be held to the same standard as physical fitness? I fear Sancho's race is ran, and I hope I'm wrong, says Rory. If an owner who would clear the debt and eat the cost of all the unwanted players is needed, then Qatar is the only logical option, says Steve. Well, I think, you know, we've spoken about it on this channel for a very long time. I think Qatar is the only logical option, and we know it. You might not be comfortable with it, but it's that, you know, this club is such a mess. It's clearly the most logical option. I don't necessarily think we'll look back on it and be happy with it. But I don't know. I don't know what the future is. No one can tell me that the future's great with Qatar or the future's terrible with Jim. I don't know. But where we are as a football club, I think absolutely spot on. Mentality fitness compared to physical fitness for Manchester United is actually really important. Unfortunately, we've accumulated a number of players whose mental strength is weak. They either overbelieve in themselves or are incapable when the chips are down in fighting back. And what I mean by that is, when United concede a couple of goals against Sevilla or Liverpool, and I'm talking over the last couple of years here because there's countless examples, it's just as damaging to overbelieve your ability as it is to not believe in your ability. And what I mean by that is, take Liverpool last season at home or take Liverpool this season away, because it's a different set of players, and that's my point. It's a collective problem. There'll be players in both those games who believe they're better than they are. And that's dangerous because you're not aware of your shortcomings. And that makes you a really vulnerable player. You know, if I go and play somebody at pool for £10 tonight and I know they're crap, but they think they can beat me, I'll beat them. I'll take £10 off them. And they might actually put another tenner in to play me and I'll beat them because they believe they're better than they are. And that's very dangerous because I'll take them to the cleaners. On the other hand, if I'm playing a different mentality player who is capable of beating me, but if I pot the first few balls, they're just going to crumble, I'm going to win the money as well. And I think and there are different personality traits, but I think United have a few of those. I think we've got a few who think they're better than they are, and therefore are weak. And I think we've got a few who are good enough, but are incapable of dealing with setbacks. And that is the problem at United. And that is something that Erik ten Hag and his coaches 100% will be looking at with anybody they recruit. Whether you're going to buy Højlund, Caicedo, Frenkie de Jong, whoever you're looking at, Erik ten Hag will be looking at their personalities and going, Anfield, 3-0 down, what are they doing? You know, are they hiding? Are they losing confidence? Are they stepping up? Look, I know players, we've been blessed. I know players at Anfield. Roy Keane is just always the one I go to, but David Beckham would be another one. Gary Neville would be another one. Jaap Stam, Vidic, Cantona. You know, the list goes, Ryan Giggs, the list goes on and on and on. And it's not that they didn't lose games, because they did. But their mentality would not shrink. It would, you know, get your chests out. I don't mean like get your tits out or anything like that, or your moves. I mean like, you know, chest in the air, let's go for it. You know, that in a footballing sense, that's what it is. Come on, let's have it. And we don't have enough of those characters. And as much as I champion Bruno Fernandes, I don't necessarily think he's that type of character. I don't think he ever gives up, but he ain't a let's have it type of person. And that's what we need. We need a lot of that. We need a lot more of that. And I suppose, in a sense, that is why you would question someone like Harry Kane. Because when has Harry Kane ever shown, when the chips are down, let's go? Whether it's for England or Spurs, you know, I don't know whether he has got that in him. To be fair, I don't know whether Victor Osimhen's got it either. Although, to be fair, I saw it the other night. He scored a goal with about a minute to go. He was fighting to the last whistle. He was grabbing hold of the ball. But look, I don't know enough about Victor Osimhen's character to know whether he has that. But I think there's question marks about whether Harry Kane's got it, because, you know, he's incredibly, you know, his career is incredibly lacking when it comes to trophies. I don't know. Unfortunately, look, Ryan's talking about Sancho. It's a Friday night show. I'm more than happy to talk about Jadon Sancho. My feeling about Jadon Sancho is this. We spent a whole summer on this channel excited about buying this player. Dortmund and their Twitter account ridiculed us that summer. And we didn't get him. And it was massively disappointing. And I remember when we didn't get Sancho, and I think that was when we got Cavani, and I threw my toys out the pram. I was like, Sancho's the player we need. He's a brilliant, brilliant player. The next summer we went and bought him, and I felt it was a year too late, but I was excited. 2 years later, I can't believe that effectively he could have been here for 3 years if we'd got him the summer we wanted. So we've been tracking him down for 3 years, and he still hasn't arrived at Man United. It still doesn't feel like we've signed the player I thought we were going to get. So I'm really disappointed. But I'm also a big fan of the player. I'm shocked. And, you know, I know a lot of the people who watch the show have watched it for a long time, and I know a lot of the people who now say he's a flop and he's shit, at the time, 2 years ago, were saying, let's get Jadon Sancho. So that doesn't mean you're wrong for changing your mind. I remember people telling me, Mourinho's crap, Mark, he needs to go. And I was going, give him time. You were ultimately right. I said it about Solskjaer. You were ultimately right. So I'm not saying that people are going to be wrong about Jadon Sancho. I just feel like a bit of a rabbit in the headlights. You know, I feel like I was so confident that he was the right sort of player for us. I felt like the way he plays football is the way we want to play football. It's give and go, it's intelligent, he can score, he can assist. But then I watch him And I'm not joking. He reminds me of, he's no more effective than Oberton was. Is he? He doesn't look confident. And I think that the big problem with Sancho, and I really like the player. I just think he's such a good player. But it's just not working out. And he's not confident. And I don't think Ten Hag's confident in him. And Ten Hag didn't buy him. He bought Anthony. And Anthony is getting better. And Sancho is flatlining. And my concern about this situation is that under the Glazers, this is a problem. Because you cannot sell a player that costs £75 million and he's on a room at 300k a week. You can't get rid of him. They won't let you get rid of him. They'll be like, no, because we want our money back. So you can't get rid of him. So you've got to keep using a player it's probably obvious Ten Hag doesn't rate. And it's probably obvious that Sancho's not comfortable. The most polite way of describing it at the moment is that it's an impossible mission. Because the club won't let him go because of how much they've played on him. Well, they're probably right as well. But Sancho's got no confidence in the system and Ten Hag's got no confidence in the player. Ten Hag wants an Anthony who is a flair player but works his socks off. There was an incident last night on the edge of the box. 50-50, Sancho jumped out the tackle. Like, time and time again, he doesn't like the tackle. But Anthony does. Now, Ronaldo wouldn't jump into a tackle. And it's fine if you're the player that the manager really loves, jumping out of a tackle is fine because he loves you. But this is not the player that Ten Hag bought. And I think the problem at the moment is, and the problem they've got to solve is, Sancho is a problem to solve. I don't think he's sellable this summer. So, you cannot have a £75 million player on that money sat on the bench. It can't happen. It's embarrassing for everybody. So the problem we've got at the moment is he's clearly not in the first team plans, and there's clearly a lack of confidence between the two. How do you resolve that problem? Personally, if you got Qatari ownership, I'd send him on loan because the money doesn't matter then. I'd send him on loan and just see what happens because it doesn't seem to be working. And let's not forget, Ten Hag and the club, you can criticise them all you like, but I think the way they handled the absence of Sancho and the patience that was shown by the club, by Ten Hag and the fans has been really supportive. I still think you've got to be patient because, as I said, he's only been back 3 months and he missed 3 months before that. So if he was out for 3 months, you've also almost got to give him 3 months back before he's really back. But I also hope that because of the type of player he is, there might be just a game or two where he scores a couple of goals and gets a couple of assists, and that'll be the kickstart. Because remember where we were. I won't make the same mistake again. Remember where we were a year ago, and I said, I can't see a way out of this for Rashford. I think for his own benefit, he needs a new start and we need to move him on. I like the player, but I think it's time to go. I said that. I have to own it. And a lot of people said that. I ain't going to do it again with Sancho because I think Rashford is the lesson. Anybody can turn it around. And next season's a new season. But at the moment, I think his biggest problem is that he's not an Erik Ten Hag signing, and therefore it's a bit like inheriting a player that you don't necessarily want. Do you think Sancho can get better once we become a 70% possession attacking team? Well, Shahin, I think you're right. I think he can do, but I also think that it really depends on whether Erik Ten Hag sees Jadon Sancho as a player in his system. And that I think is the problem, isn't it? It's like, is he part of his system? Is he part of his plans? Because in a team, if you look at Ten Hag's Ajax side, it was a lot of possession. It was a lot of shots on goal. But if we get to that with Manchester United, is Jadon Sancho a starter for Manchester United? I think it's very obvious that Jadon Sancho isn't a starter for Manchester United. Because you've got Anthony who's going to start on the right, You've got probably a new striker who's going to start down the middle, and you've got Marcus Rashford who's going to play off the left. So I don't think it's easy to see and he's not going to play at number 10, is he? He's not going to play at number 10. So I think it's difficult to see where Sancho's future is. But as I said, he's a player I really like, and he's a player I really wanted at United. So I'd love to see it work out. And it's not impossible that it does. Still, I have faith in Sancho. He needs to track back and work harder. Still a good player, says Simon. It's good to hear, yeah. Dele Alli 2.0 is a joke. I think it's an absolute joke. Your haircut's lovely, Mark, says Aaron. Well, look, I just want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight, because we've sort of been steadily around 7,000 all night. And I know it's probably because Arsenal are playing, but really, it's a United channel. And I'm not doing an 8 o'clock show on a Friday night. It's one of my favourite shows of the week because Arsenal are playing. So I stand by it. You're the hardcore. You're the legends. Make sure you smash a like on the video and get involved. To be fair, currently Manchester United is not the easiest team to play well at. Everything is currently a mess or up in the air. We just have to hope for a bit more stability before we truly know about certain players. And also, Les, I think another interesting point about, and a lot of people are liking his comment, another interesting point is that we won't be buying a winger in the summer. And that goes in Jadon Sancho's favour. We won't be buying another winger this summer because we need to buy a striker, we need to buy a midfielder, we need to buy a centre-back, and then apparently we might be buying a right-back or a goalkeeper. So we're not buying another winger. So I don't think we need to concern ourselves too much about it because he's unsellable and we're not going to buy a replacement. So Sancho will be here next year in some shape or form. And I think next season will be the key season for Sancho because already it's going to be season 3. So, look, we've gone a long way around it. But I think effectively Jadon Sancho, look, as I said, this nonsense that was very disappointing about how many players were for sale and the people who were being named is a nonsense. Jadon Sancho is not for sale this summer. He won't be sold this summer. He will be a Man United player next season. There's a slim chance he could be loaned, but he ain't going to get sold. He will be here next year. And obviously you've got people like Pellistri and you've got people like Ahmad coming back and they will add to the competition. And I'm not going to say that Jadon Sancho will succeed, but he will be here next year. If you, Qatar, get United, how many players do you think we will be allowed and how many do you think we could sell? Darren, I think that my big concern about any new ownership is that time is really probably already gone. It's very difficult that we've not even accepted a bid. So it's very difficult for a new owner to come in and make an impact on a transfer window when they're not even going to be in place by the time the window opens. Evening, Mark. Hope you're well and the family as well. You too, Sam. I love Sancho, but if we don't get anything from him by the end of the season, I'll be very worried. I wouldn't be, Sam. I think he'll be here next year. I think he's unsellable simply because of how much we paid for him. And also, we've got more important areas. I think next season it becomes a problem because I can't see how he's going to get in the team. Ten Hag loves Anthony and he loves Rashford. They're going to be starting wingers. So you sort of fall into the category that Harry Maguire's in this year where, you know, you want to play, but you're only playing if someone needs a rest or if someone's injured. Surely it makes sense to loan Sancho to a high possession team and just hope it kickstarts his career again, says Jordan. Yeah, and you can only do that if financially it doesn't hurt you. We can't loan Jadon Sancho at the moment because it financially hurts us. But if you've got new owners with lots of money, you can do that. You know, Real Madrid do that, PSG do that. They're so rich, they will loan players off. Good value players as well. I mean, look, we've seen, Ceballos went to Arsenal for a season, didn't he? Sancho's future is in Sancho's hands. If you look at his games, he doesn't work hard enough. That's why even Garnacho is preferred over him. And I think that's a great point, Mario. We mustn't forget Garnacho. I think at the moment, there are the first choice 3 wingers are Rashford, Anthony and Garnacho. And then beyond that, it's Jadon Sancho's number 4. Now, if Ahmad comes back and does well, you know, maybe he becomes number 4. So, but even if Sancho stays the 4th choice winger, it ain't good enough. Like, he can't even be a bench player when you've invested that much money. We need to get more out of him. And that's Ten Hag's challenge, and I've seen such improvement with so many players. I don't think it's beyond Sancho or Ten Hag to improve. Hi Mark, do you think if we had gotten Nunez, De Jong and Timber instead of Casemiro, Martinez and Anthony, we would be in a better spot than we are now? Well, we'll never know, Daniel. We will never know. But what I would say is that I've always wondered what position we would be in if we'd sacked Murta and given Ralph Rangnick the job that he was meant to get. Would we be in a better position now? And I think we would be, because Rangnick wanted to get rid of a lot more players and bring in a lot more in. I think Ahmad can play at number 10, says Siddiq. Well, I've seen Ahmad play it as a false 9 for Manchester United. So, yeah, I think Ahmad's a very, very interesting player this summer, and I'm very excited to see what he can do. Do you think the players have pride in the badge or the shirt, says Ruth? And this is a great question, actually. You know, I know quite a few modern footballers, and I know quite a few ex-players, and I think something's changed in football over the last decade. Footballers have become way more brand aware. The world is a lot bigger to them than it was. Look, I know players who, when they were at United at a certain period of time, it was about socialising away from the pitch, you know, having a beer, going out with families, you know, for an Indian or a Chinese or whatever, and the football was the focus. Now, you finish a football game and your agency has got you off meeting different people who aren't your teammates, and football has become more individual than team. And it's very difficult to build team morale now than it was 15, 20 years ago. You look at the 99 team to the team now, football has just naturally made footballers more individual. I also think football has made footballers more individual in the sense of their own worth. And I want what he's getting. So in a sense, I think footballers have become more selfish. And when you become more selfish, you're not as collective. And that's just the environment that football has created. You know, you look at PSG, there are people playing in that team who just don't like each other because it's all about who's getting what and who's the bigger ego, etc. And I think that has happened in the Premier League to a lesser extent. So I think it's a really good point. When Ruth says, do they have pride in the badge? I don't get the feeling, and it's very easy to say it because we've not been successful for 10 years, but I think United have lost as a collective team what we took for granted for probably 20 years under Sir Alex, where everybody was fighting for the same goal. They were more in tune with what the fans want. And I think they're a victim of what Man United is on the football landscape. There's a lot of selfishness, there's a lot of individuality, and there's a lot of money in football. And if you play for Manchester United, it's amplified because you're going to have more followers, you're going to have more brands after you than you are if you play for Man City. It's just the way it is. So we're a victim of our success because I think footballers are naturally more individual now. And, you know, pride in the badge, football's different. You know, Paul Scholes would have been cleaning the boots of Mark Hughes. Like, that makes you a harder worker. That makes you more appreciative. That makes you more... When you've had to work at the lowest level to get to the highest level, you appreciate the journey and it matters more. You know, nowadays, there's so much money swashing around. 14-year-olds are getting £1 million thrown at them and stuff like that. It's just... It's not their fault. That's not their fault. It's the environment. And to be honest with you, footballers are not and have never been as involved in the club as you are. You support Manchester United. Some of these players don't support Man United. They've been brought to the club and they fall in love with the crowd and the atmosphere, but they're not Man United fans. They become Man United fans because they play for Man United. But if they get sold to Everton, they don't necessarily stay Man United fans. They are here for their time here, a lot of them. So, look, I think football's just changed, Ruth. Mark, I have nothing against Sancho. He was once my favourite player, but he looks as effective as an average Dwight McNeil out there, and it's worrying, says Cameron. Look, there's a problem. I think there's a problem. We all know that. It's time to make new history. Erik ten Hag is the right man. And I think that's the way I would agree with Tony. We have got the right guy to bring the mentality that's needed. We have got the right guy to bring that collectivity. You know, it's hard, and it goes back to what I said about 20 minutes ago. There is a collection of players that just don't have the right mentality for where we need to go. They either think they're better than they are, or they're not confident enough with what talent they have. And we need the right mentality. We need the players who understand how good they are and understand what their job is, or we need the players who are good enough and also are willing to fight for it when it goes wrong. We've got players who are good enough who don't have the mentality, and we've got players who aren't good enough who think they are. And that's a dangerous cocktail. We need the right mentality at this club, and Ten Hag will know that. It's whether he can get the backing to remove the players that don't have it and bring in the players that do. If you look at Madrid players, they become world class just because they know they've joined something that is much bigger than them. We've lost that, says Mario Franco. Look, Madrid and Barcelona have pissed me off for years. The amount of players that want to go and play for Madrid and Barcelona. We've seen it with our club. We've seen it at Liverpool. They just want to play for those clubs. The best players want to go and play for those clubs. And I'd love United to have that, because when the best players in the world want to come and play for your club, or the best up-and-coming players in the world want to come and play for your club, you're going to get that mentality right anyway, because they're the best talents in the world. It's a lot easier for Real Madrid and Barcelona, but they've worked hard to build that reputation. Greetings from Finland since 1983. Thanks, Mika. And before it was Manchester United is my club, while nowadays it is I'm a Man United player, says Imperial X. Yeah. But look, that's not a rod to beat the United players with. That's just modern football. You know, there are footballers who played in the 90s who are infinitely better than some of the players that wear a Man United shirt now, and they were probably being paid pennies. And some of these players who aren't fit to wear a United shirt are earning more in a couple of months than a lot of you will earn in your whole lives. It's incredible. Think about that. 200 grand a week. That's 800 grand a month. It's a lot of money. In a couple of months, that's 1.6 million. You know, a lot of people won't make that in their life. And there's players who played in the 90s who were so much better than them. But that's what football's become, like I said. You know, very average players these days are earning life-changing amounts of money. And that's what football's become. So how can you blame the player? Blame the game. You know, if you're an average footballer and you're earning life-changing money, no wonder you're going to come out with stuff like, I've got nothing to prove, or think you're better than you are, because nothing's unobtainable for you. You're going to believe it. I think they're victims of it, you know. But anyway, look, I could go on and on. And I think ultimately Farry's right. The passion is missing when you're absolutely loaded. A lot of people, money makes you comfortable. It's the old Del Boy thing, isn't it? If you've ever watched Only Fools and Horses, what a comedy series it was. And Del Boy is just a wheeler dealer. And he wants to be a millionaire. And every scheme, it's like, this time next year, I'm going to be a millionaire. And he's passionate for it and he wants it. And it never looks like it's going to happen, but he's passionate for it. And then at the end, it happens. And he gets depressed because he's like, all my life I've wanted this. And now the fire's gone out. Because I realise the most enjoyable bit was the journey to get to this. And now I'm here. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I want to be back with the passion, fighting for this again. And I don't need to because I'm loaded. And there's a story there, isn't there? You know, some modern footballers, you know, you talk about the Dele Alli impact. I don't know whether that's the reason, but maybe the fire went out. Maybe when he's at MK Dons in the first couple of years at Spurs, it's like the hunger and the passion there. Suddenly all this money comes and you're like, what's motivation? It can be a problem. And that's why I think it's stupid that we pay stupid money. Where's the incentive? One thing I'll respect Liverpool for is they don't pay stupid money. So their players are hungry. We go, come to Man United and we'll give you life-changing money. What's the incentive? Once you've signed that contract, I'm done. What if their mentality is they don't suit having all the money because they'll switch off? I think we've bought a few of those. Carlos says, forget Sancho. If Mason Green was back, we'd be fighting for the Prem. There's always, well, look, Carlos, we've run out of time. You've dropped that one in there. Let's see what happens with it. Thanks everyone for watching. You are absolutely fantastic. You see, fortunately, I'm absolutely loaded, but the passion to do the show has never gone out. And anybody who's been watching for years knows that my passion and energy is the same it was when I didn't have a pot to piss in. But no, I'm joking. I'm not loaded. Maybe if I was, I would stop. But no, I'm only joking. Thanks everyone for watching. I love the Friday night show. Thanks everyone who tuned in. And we're back. What a game it's going to be this weekend. I forgot we did the Brighton preview. What a show it's been. Absolutely love it. Do not forget to play the TUS Predictor. I hope I explained it properly to you. Links in the chat. You've got to be over 18 to play it. begambleaware.org. But 10 questions. 2 of you won 1,500 quid each from the Sevilla game. 10 questions. Get yourself in. See what you do for the Sunday game. Unbelievable. Links in the chat. Give it a go. Thanks for watching.